Welcome to this week's episode of Serving the Community podcast. Each week, your host Trisha Stetzel is highlighting people and organizations in our communities that are serving through volunteer work and giving back to make our community, country, and even the world a kinder place to live. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Serving the Community podcast. My name is Trisha Stetzel, owner of ResultsXtreme Business Solutions and the founder of Serving the Community podcast. I'm super excited about the guest I have on today that was introduced to me by a very good friend of mine, Tamerson J. Her name is Patricia Anderson. Patricia, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me on today's show. And I just really appreciate Tamerson for the introduction. I'm just very excited to be here today and just to share with you guys. And I thank you again. And hello.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I'm so excited to have you on the show because you have so many things going on. Even before we started recording, it was like, all right, which direction do we want to go in? So what I would love for you to do first is just introduce yourself to our audience so they know exactly who you are. And then I would like to go down the path of, by the way, Patricia is an author and a speaker and many other things. So introduce yourself and then we'll get into our chat today.
Hi, everyone. I am Patricia Anderson, known as Lady P. So I am a mother first. I am a child of God. I am a grandmother. I am a wife. I'm a sister. I do event management. I do teaching classes as far as being a lady kind of sort of thing, which is not an outer appearance, it's an inner appearance. So I love to encourage and motivate and inspire women from the age of young ladies from the age of 1 year old to the age of 99. So I just love just working in the community, and I just love people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Patricia. And one of the reasons I invited you to come on the show is because of the community of women that you're really helping through your own story. So let's talk about a little bit about the first book that you wrote. So the first book that you wrote about life happens and sharing your story with other women and being an inspiration. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, life happens. It came about years ago when I was just sitting there saying, I don't understand why this is going on with me, why this is happening to me. And so one of the things that I had to experience was divorce. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., Southeast, and I moved to Houston, Texas, with my now ex-husband and two of my children. And then I had two more children when I got here. And so life was continually happening to me because I kept changing and I didn't understand what was going on. And so when my ex-husband decided that I was no longer fit for him, and my children were under the age of 18, and he left me to pursue happiness, I'll put it that way. Life was really, truly happening to me. It's like, okay, how do I function if I'm not his wife? How is this going to work? Why is this happening? Every child is different. I have 4 children. So every child is different and they range. My oldest is 35 and my youngest is 19. So as you know, they range from age. So life was continuing to happen to me. And so I was at one of my aunt's funerals about 9 years ago, and my mom was in her early stages of Alzheimer's. And so people were noticing how, she wasn't as respondent or didn't remember certain things. And when they would ask me and my brother who lives in Las Vegas, they would ask us, and it's like, well, what's going on with your mom? And my brother said, life. And that just stuck out at me. It's like life, yes. And so that's where the title From Life Happens. But then I put a spin on it, unbelievable outcomes, because I'm still standing here. And I just love to encourage the women that even when life is happening to you, anybody, I can encourage anybody, you can still have unbelievable outcomes. You can still be triumphant. You can still be victorious. So that's how Life Happens had got its birth. But it took me, oh gosh, 6 years to birth it out. Because I didn't know how to get things done, and so I had to employ a strategy coach, Chika Hunt, who's my strategy coach, and she became my strategy coach, and she was just putting things together for me as far as my thoughts and what I wanted to accomplish. And as yourself, Trish, the coaching is very important, whether you in business, personal life, ministry, whatever you're doing, you definitely need a coach to keep you focused and on track. And
It
so
is.
I believe you're a coach.
Yes, that is absolutely
So
right.
you understand the coaching
I
aspect of it.
do.
So
Yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing about your book. And I think it's amazing when we have something inside of us to actually share that with other people because we don't know who we're going to impact. And you're right, life happens. It does not stop. And it's the way you choose to deal with that that either puts you on the above the line side, right? Or
yeah.
the below the line side. And instead of feeling sorry for yourself, you just went out and made your life the way you wanted it to be. And I think that's amazing. So I know you do a lot of work with women in the church as well. And I know that you've put on some conferences. So let's talk about these women that you're giving back to and the message that you're giving to them.
Yes, I do. I love working with women. And it was a point in, I hate to even reference this, but I have to tell the truth and I have to be honest because it's the only way you're going to help somebody. I used to say women didn't like me and I didn't understand why. They didn't like how you look. They didn't like how you dress. And I would always be the last one picked to be a part of anything. I always felt left out. And so when God downloaded to me, hey, I want you to do this, I was very reluctant. I was like, well, women don't like me. Why would I help women? They don't like me. I don't want to help any, women don't like me. I like them, but they don't like me. They never want me around. So it was for me, I had to go to myself, my inner self, and say, how can I help them? And one of the things was to do a conference. I was already helping people individually, talking to them one-on-one, trying to encourage them, praying with them, things like that. And I said, well, I want to do a conference because God gave it to me. He said, always be a lady. And so that was so significant for me because my grandmother always said, ladies, they always have their hats on, their pearls on. They always soft spoken and they always meek. But I wanted to take it further than that, because I've been called a lady since I was a little girl. And so I wanted to take it further than that. That's not all that being a lady is about. It's about us wearing all these many different hats. It's about how we handle things, how we make decisions and choices, and who we are on the inside. And so I wanted not to be an appearance or what you have or what you don't have. Those are just compliments. I wanted it to be the inner you. And so I said, let me have this conference to empower, to encourage, to motivate, to inspire women to be great. They are great. And, we as women, we hold so many things, bondage inside of us that we just kind of shy away from doing things because we think it's either a man's job to do it or we're not qualified, when God has already equipped us and we are qualified to do it. We are qualified to perform and we have such an important role on the earth. And so my conference, I have it every year. This will be my fourth one coming up in September of 2021. And I have young ladies from all ages that come. I have speakers. They talk about mental health. They talk about entrepreneurship. They talk about coaching, strategy. They talk about trusting God. It's just different things that they come to empower. And if you come there, you're going to get so much information and resources and connection that you'll walk away feeling empowered. But you have to act on it. You have to use what has been given in your hand, because we can tell them all day long, do this, do that, do that. If you don't activate that and walk out in your boldness, then it's not going to be accomplished. So that's one thing that I tell everyone, look at me. I did it. I was a product of the ghetto from Washington, D.C., and grew up with nothing. And God still, he blessed me. He saw forth, and I still had to activate. I had to activate that. And so that's one thing that I do preach on and I do teach on, that, we can get this word, we can hear this word, we can speak this word, but if we don't activate that's within us, then it's not going to happen. And you have to be equipped to know where your lane is and what you're good at, what your passion is. And so by doing that, that means you have to have some focus. That means you're going to have to put some time in, and you're going to have to take some time for yourself too. And you're going to have to not beat yourself up. We are our hardest critics, women. And I don't know why we beat ourselves up so much, but we are hard on ourselves. So stop being so hard on yourself.
That's the truth. And when you started this story, one of the things that I wrote down was acceptance. And, you were telling the story about you didn't feel like women liked you. And I think there are a lot of women out there, including myself, who have been with groups of other women and felt unaccepted, right? And so we have to find that acceptance in ourselves to get the acceptance from others, right? We have to be bold. We have to stand up. We have to take the knowledge and the training and the coaching that we've received from everyone before us and take action, exactly like what you were talking about. I love that. Well, I will definitely put the information about your conference, Always Be a Lady, in the show notes so that people can go and check that out if that's something that they would like to get involved in. All right, so let's take a deeper dive, because I know this one is even more personal, but your second book, Pain to Purpose, which is one that you and I talked a lot about when I first met you. Can you give us a little bit of insight into that book and the reason why you wanted to put that story out there for women to read?
Well, I wanted to put that story out there for women to read, because what you see now is not what I was then. Even I didn't know who I was. So the pain to the purpose is definitely a part of my divorce, being left behind with 4 kids under the age of 18, being brought to Houston, Texas, where I had no family other than his family, had no friends other than his relatives. All I had was church, and I was a believer, but I was not walking in it. So I tried to commit suicide. I took 300 pills and drank gasoline and drove down 59, and the police found me. The car was still running. I was in my Lexus. It was still running. The car was still running. And they took me to a hospital in Cleveland, Texas. I had made it from the southwest part of Houston all the way to Cleveland, Texas on 59. And that's where I was found in the hospital. And when I woke up, I was like, I'm still here. Why am I still here? But my mom was there, my sister, they flew in from DC, my cousin flew in from DC, my sister-in-law flew in from Vegas. So it was really a tough time for me, because I didn't know who I was, and if I wasn't his wife, because I had centered everything around him. I had made him my God. Everything I wanted it to be, he was so great and powerful in my life, and I didn't know who he was if I wasn't his wife, and that was hard. It was like, okay, I have an identity. And that's what I want to encourage you, ladies. You have to have an identity. But once I found me, I said, okay, I wasn't going to tell nobody. Only the people that know. But God said you have to help people. So I put that in a book. And I also put in a book, I had lost some friends. I lost my best friend. Me and her was 4 days apart. She's from Washington, D.C. And she actually died of cancer, breast cancer. She was in the 5th stages as she got diagnosed. She was going to take the test, doing all of that, but they didn't diagnose her until the 5th stages. She had surgery. She had, chemo and all of that. And, the lifespan back then, which has only been 6 years ago, was 3 to 5 years for that diagnosis of cancer. But she started a foundation, and she was encouraging everybody else. So the loss of her. She was somebody that loved me just for me and who I was. And, that was key for me, that somebody could accept you for your flaws and everything else. We're not perfect. And she did not judge me. There was no judgment. And so that was a huge loss for me because I lost a support system, a cheerleader that knew me for real, that knew me for real, knew all the scars, knew all the pain, grew up with me, so that was a tough one, that loss. And then my daughter being diagnosed with Turner syndrome. And I felt like it was my fault. And it was just so many things that was happening for me. Not only did my husband leave me, but I had kids that were 1 year old and a baby, and everybody was still under 18. And I lost my job 3 months after that. So it was so much going on. I can say that my pastor at that time and the first lady was very encouraging, called me for prayer every morning, telling me to hold my head up, even after I tried to commit suicide. But that's when I had to really seek God for myself and find out who I am. And so that's why Pain to Purpose is just so, I need to let people know that just because you have a past failures, or you feel like you failed, or you feel like you can't make it, that you can. Because I came out 300 pills, gasoline, and I have no physical illnesses or traits or disabilities with me. God had a purpose for me. There was a plan for my life, and it's to encourage the women. So I didn't want to write that book. I cried while writing that book because I didn't want to tell that story, but I did. I told that story. And each time I birthed out a book, it was during a difficult time. My first one, my mom died. Life happens. My mom died a month before my first conference and before my book got published. So it was like, oh my God, life is happening to me. And this is what the book is about. Life is happening. You still have to be present. You still have to show up, and you still have to produce. You have to be the mother, the wife, the co-worker, the boss, the employee. You still have to go to the grocery store. You still have to life is normal for everybody else, but you have a new normal. And then doing, from pain to purpose, also, I experienced great loss. And, 6 months after that, my ex-husband's mother, who was like a mother to me too, after she said, and was there for my kids and grandkids, we lost her. So it was like, okay. And then it's just been a series of things that have happened through the pain, through the purpose, that we have a purpose. And God can put back them broken pieces. And guess what? He needs your help to do it, because you have to have a mindset to do it. And you know that with coaching, that you take off the layers and you peel off the onions. And that's what my strategy coach did to me. And I'm glad that she did it before any of these things occurred. I didn't realize there was a purpose for what the process was before it occurred. So,
And I think that the message here, I feel like, is no matter what your story is, if you feel like you need to tell it, there's a reason, right? God is telling you that you need to get your story out there because there are other women out there that may be going through something similar or even in the same situation. And knowing that somebody like you can come out on the other end and be a mentor, a teacher, an educator, a coach, and help other women through going from being dependent to independent.
yeah.
Wow, how cool is that, right? And being bold. So, Patricia, as we get to the end of the show, I want to let my listeners know that you do have a third book, Always Be a Lady, right? That one is out there. So I want to make sure that people have access to getting in touch with you or even finding your book. So if you would share your contact information, social media, and as well as where they can find your books, I would appreciate that.
Okay, you can find my books on Amazon under Patricia Anderson. My first book is Life Happens, Unbelievable Outcomes. The second one is From Pain to Purpose, Broken Pieces. And the third one is actually a workbook. It's Always Be a Lady, Learning to Love Me. And this workbook will help you learn to love you. And so that's on Amazon. And then if you want to contact me, my email address is contactlady contactladypandassociates@gmail.com. So it's contactladypandassociates@gmail.com. And then, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, the Freedom Coach. I also do coaching. So I'm the Freedom Coach. I help people walk into their freedom, and so that they can fulfill their purpose. And then I have my Facebook page, which is Patricia Anderson, from Houston, Texas. And my Always Be a Lady conference will be here in September and the 25th, and she will put that up for you guys. So I really appreciate you having me here today and allowing me to share with your
Yes,
audience.
absolutely, Patricia. Thank you for being here with me and being so vulnerable to share your story. I know that can be heavy sometimes, and even for our listeners, it can be heavy, but just know that there are people out there just like Patricia who have taken the high road, if you will, right? And have decided to take everything that they've learned over the years and give that back to others who need it. And Patricia, for that, I thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And your story is not just for you.
That's right. Absolutely. It's to share. And, that is one of the gifts that we can give to people, right?
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you again for being with me today, Patricia.
Thank you for having me, Trish.
And that concludes this week's podcast, Serving the Community.